All right. Good morning. It's about 7:30 on May 12th. We are at the Policy and Personnel Committee. So our first order of business is to take a look at the 3rd to 4th grade promotion and retention policy. What we have here is a draft from WASB. Looks like printed weird, upside down or whatever it might be. But ultimately, with the passing of Act 20, the students now need to, obviously go through reading plans, go through all the diagnostics, and continue to, work through whatever the legislation continues to take a look at, what they want us to do too as well. So ultimately, this policy would affect July 1st, but they're asking us to basically have students who are then promoted from 3rd to 4th grade be in good standing. And ultimately, if they are not in good standing, when we say good standing, with the ability to read, that they then would have a reading plan that would continue to follow them until they have basically reached proficiency on the state assessment. So we do know for some students who have individual education plans, that may be very difficult, but again, they still will continue to have that reading plan and that reading support guided through, in that case, the IEP. But ultimately, when we think about that reading plan, it is a partnership with the school as well as the families moving forward together too as well. So ultimately, this WASB is to, take a look at and basically assure that the school district is going to do what we can, and together with the parents, to get them to proficiency. We have the screening application, modifications, parent responsibilities.
So if I'm reading this correctly, Ron, there's a section here that basically says, even if they don't meet the criteria listed above, the district can still promote the student given basically some other factors.
Correct.
That's kind of how it works normally?
That's how it works normally, even at grades 4, 8, and 10 too as well, from the state statute standpoint. But yes.
So in practical, and I know Marie's not here to answer this, but practically speaking, what is this really going to be? Like, have we ever not promoted a student?
We have not promoted students before in the past.
Okay.
It has always been a partnership with the families, where we sit down and work out what's best for the child.
Sure.
Sometimes it is parent initiated, and
Okay.
sometimes it's our initiation too.
Okay.
So, but ultimately, this kind of gives the family some commitment to what we're going to do.
Oh, yeah,
to make sure they're
understand that,
successful.
right.
Yeah.
I think it's great that we're doing it earlier from a state standpoint. Do parents have the right to, even if their child is meeting this criteria from a reading perspective, to still say, hey, I've got concerns with my child moving on to another?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So that doesn't change any of,
It doesn't change
anything
any of our
else,
other
just adds the
policies.
reading portion to it?
Yep, the reading and the academics.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, so again, it's just our first read, add it, and again, standard WASB language, sorry it's coming out a little bit late.
My only request is we move the 3rd grade page to,
The next page.
Yep.
Yep, so we'll clean that up once.
Okay.
That's weird.
yeah, and fix the printing.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Something, yeah.
We'll do that too as
Okay.
well, so.
All right.
Thank you. The next part is the employee, not employee handbook, let's go student handbooks first. So I didn't print those out, I did send those to you, obviously, those are big documents. But it's that time of year again that we take a look and see what we want our student handbooks to do. So the first step is always to have our administration review them, and particularly the building principals as we look forward. We have done a deep scrub of these each and every year, the last several years. There's some minor edits when we take a look at some updated policies that just were approved prior to our student handbook a year ago. The main change for the primary school, we'll start there, was Mr. Blessington wanted to add his behavior matrix in there.
Okay.
So that would be, right away, I didn't highlight that, but you'll see that basically on page 3 or 4, is he wanted to put that in there. So that's kind of the only change that the primary school student handbook saw, outside of some cleanup of some policies.
And this is consistent with what we have been using, he just wants to document.
He just wants to document it in, correct, yeah.
So nothing different.
Nothing different, he just wanted it in the student handbook to make sure that it was
Yeah.
signed off on. Absolutely.
Kind of surprised it wasn't in there before.
They were continuing to work on it.
Okay.
Throughout this year, they finalized some things, and again, that's ultimately, because we had a draft, and that was kind of all part of our plan for that. So that's pretty much the primary side.
I feel like we did a lot of heavy lifting on these last year, the year.
The year before, the last 2
Yeah.
years, we really, really scrubbed them hard.
Yeah,
We did.
So something that somebody brought up to me was, there's a proliferation of electronic scooters on campus now? Is
That are-
something that are fast and
That are
large?
moving quickly?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that something we need to address, or is that not a concern that the district has seen?
No, we would prefer, let me go to ICE, because basically, we do ask our kids a lot of times to walk their bikes even, too,
Mhm.
as well. But that could be something that we do take a look at.
I would just get some feedback from people that out there, and I've just heard from a couple folks
Okay.
that, you know, we don't want anyone getting hurt.
No, we have, you know,
we
something,
allow you?
come on in, yeah, come on in.
good morning.
Good morning.
Camera is on, so everyone knows we're recording.
Good morning.
Yep, we're just finishing up,
Yep.
some student handbook stuff, and then, we'll get right into that employee handbook in a second.
Whoa, the table moves. Don't use that to pull the chair in.
So electronic scooters?
Yeah.
Yes, so let me take a look at that,
Okay.
about e-bikes, electronic scooters,
Yep.
just as students begin to travel
It's
faster.
becoming more and more of a popular thing
Yep.
in schools. These.
Got it. Let me take a look at those, and that obviously would be for both.
Yep, yep, okay.
As well. Okay. Yeah, let me take a look at that. It's like technology continues to change.
Yes,
They move a lot faster than a bike.
They do.
as soon as we take out a quarter for a phone call and a payphone.
We
They're
can
talking
charge
about
that.
it.
We did
I
that.
know.
So for the intermediate side of things, Steve wanted to put in his tardy policy. Again, he worked with his staff, and he has an official tardy policy. Again, at the middle school, it's a little bit more relevant because they do have passing times, and again, trying to get kids from point A to point B as well too. So that was the ad.
What page is that on?
Let me pull that up. That would be,
Oh, there it is, I got it.
I highlighted in yellow, correct. Yep. And I guess for our intermediate staff, how has that been going?
Oh, it's much better now that we have, yeah.
Yeah.
So so it says 2 classes, so that's in a day, or a week, or the year, if you have 3 tardies at any point in time.
3 tardy
It's being
school pass.
recorded.
I do believe it is,
It's on the 4th one that they get written up.
But it's
No,
not
I mean,
per,
like,
it's
I
not
think it's
per
per
teacher, per
quarter.
class,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, no, it's per teacher, per class.
Yeah.
and what's the time frame? That's Justin's
I think it's
question.
per quarter. Is it
Yes.
quarter?
They recess after the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
Because we have classes
Okay.
that are run.
That change.
So a student could
So we're
theoretically
gonna-
be
we
tardy
should still-
Doing a class
every
a day.
class 3 times a day. Is that,
Which is not good.
I was gonna say, is that, I mean, that to me seems
Well-
pretty unacceptable to miss.
To an extent, but we also have 6th graders, and at the beginning of the year, the 6th graders need a lot of grace, because they're
Sure,
having some
sure,
really big
sure.
changes with things.
Yeah,
And then that quarter, a lot of, like, their electives or whatever will changes, so the things that they're doing further away from their lockers in that other wing are different.
Yeah.
So if we, and most of them, as soon as they know that you're keeping track, they don't wanna
They
get
set
anywhere
them
close to
okay,
it.
alright, fair enough.
I'll clarify. I'll ask Steve to clarify, make sure it's spelled out of quarterly, semester, because I think.
Totally abusive.
I
Yeah,
think
'cause if you're going to discipline, right, we should be.
Yep, we should be really specific, so I'll ask Steve to,
Good
Okay.
question.
yep. Very good question. Other than that, it's dates, times, policies, or procedures, just updated.
Okay, language change.
So again, what we'll do is we'll forward this to the board for first review in May, and then ultimately we'll go for approval in June.
Okay,
All
excellent.
right. Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming on in. We are now at the phase of the meet and confer session for employee handbook, or basically anything anybody want to talk about. This is our largest group of the year.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good
So,
job, guys.
We're here.
Yeah, so I'm Justin Kent, I'm the board president. Haven't met a lot of you, so, but please feel free to give us open feedback, right? So that we can understand any concerns, good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right, well, we'll did you want me to talk about anything first, or do you guys
I
wanna
do.
go?
I think we should maybe review the changes that you're
Review the
proposing.
changes first?
Yeah,
Okay,
so we
sure.
have a little bit of,
Some background there?
Background
Sure.
there.
So, so obviously, number one is always dates and times, phone numbers, things like that, the technical changes, those are easy. Number two came from a conversation at the last board meeting regarding support staff liquidated damages. Dean brought it up.
from one board member.
From one board member, yep, from one board member,
Just to be
so.
clear, it wasn't a board, it was
No, from one
member.
board member, so I did place it in the proposed changes. I did reach out to our legal team, Bob Butler says it is legal for us to collect liquidated damages from support staff. Currently, we have no penalties for anything given a 10-day notice, and it's $250 if it's within, a smaller period of time, within that $10 or 10 days, for $250, so if you would leave before 2 weeks. The proposed change would be $250, basically $250 during the school year or during the contract year, basically. So if you break that letter of appointment, it would be $250. And if you give us less than 2 weeks' notice, it would be $500 during those times too, so.
Are any other schools doing this? Peters? Okay.
I have no interest in bringing that forward.
Okay.
So.
Me either.
Me either. We aren't under contract. We have no
We're at-will
contract.
employees,
Yeah,
so we can come and go.
and we really don't
Understood.
get
Yeah.
paid much
Understood.
for that.
Good morning.
So,
Good morning.
so that was
We're
the
paid
proposed
the
change,
least,
so if,
But we're gonna get funded.
Am
I-
I
We're trying
allowed
to
to
better
say
our
where I
lives.
stand?
yes, you are, oh yeah.
No.
No, okay, all right, then we will not be bringing that forward.
Thank
You
you
just
for
have
the
to-
discussion.
You're
Good
welcome.
morning.
Good morning, Maria. So number three is basically given our new teacher compensation model and system. We no longer have a high needs teaching area compensation, so that is just a delete for that, given our new model.
Okay.
Okay, and that recommendation would have come from the compensation committee too as well, because we talked about that. So four, the last one here on the list, is to basically take a look at how we are doing teacher summer payrolls. Right now, our teachers get compensated 24 pays throughout the year from September 6th to August 20th. Okay? What we are proposing is to take the July and August paychecks, the four of them, and move them into June 20th payroll. Okay? The reason for that is we need to show that our books have been spent between our fiscal year of July 1 to June 30th. Okay?
Morning.
So our auditors always say, hey, what's your summer payroll? You have to balance everything out. WRS wants everything balanced out. So we need to basically show that we pay all of our teacher salaries, benefits, insurances, whatever it may be, even before our staff gets their money. Okay? So the proposal is to take those four paychecks and give those four paychecks on June 20th. So on June 20th, they would technically get paid 5 times. And our books now would be clear, and we would pay WRS. We would do all of those things that we needed to do. So by June 30th, all of our books were clean. Some implications. Ultimately, we would have to collect insurances over, instead of 24 pay periods, we would collect it over 20 pay periods, September 6th to June 20th, because we always collect 1 month in advance. So insurance premiums would go up a little bit per month. It's approximately $25 per paycheck or $20 per paycheck for a family plan, and approximately $10 for a single plan. But they wouldn't pay those premiums through the July and August time as well. The other advantage is for our WRS annuitants, who then begin to pull their pensions. It is always a fight with WRS to identify when their last day of work is. That last day of work is super important, because that is when that's when their clock starts ticking from because they have to wait 90 days or so many days before they can even work again in a public sector position underneath an hour threshold, or to start pulling their pensions. So I recall last fall where we were working with two of our retirees, and it was a battle, all because we paid them on August 20th. So WRS is looking at that, well, if you got paid on the 20th, that means you must have worked August 1st, because state statute says you have to get paid within 30 days, etc. So, so from a district perspective, there's a lot of advantages. We clean our books up and away we go. From a staffing advantage, there are some challenges. When I say challenges, one is you would have to budget. Individual staff members would have to budget because they would be compensated all in, maybe 5 pay periods in 1 pay period. But the other advantage is that they get their money. They get their money in advance. They can do with it what they want. Obviously, because that way they can invest or do what they wish with their money. So, again, it's just one of those things that kind of clean our books up by June 30th. But again,
So this sounds like an accounting problem.
this is
So
truly,
can we just accrue wages?
we do, that's what we currently do now.
So I don't understand then why we'd have to change it.
Well, when we accrue wages, we still pay people out throughout the summer.
Right.
And it's ultimately some accounting, we're working through accounting, and then ultimately fighting for some WRS at the very end with our WRS for our retirees.
Are other districts doing this?
The majority school districts do this. This is just what they do.
Okay.
So I have brought this forward to, some groups, I've been meeting with them. To admit, okay, it depends, because some people who have come from different school districts are like, well, this is the way it always has been. Somewhat generational as well. Being able to manage your money and help, kind of budget as is. Some people have said it's great because I'd rather have my money ahead of time than, let the district, because we would earn about 4% on it. And then employees then can, drive some of that interest if they choose to as well, so. But
What's our typical cash flow situation that time of year?
we have no issues with cash flow.
Okay, so
Yep.
we're,
We still would be just fine from a cash flow standpoint.
right.
Yep, we're right around 1.6 mil, 1.7 mil.
But admin would get paid the same throughout the 24?
All 24 pay periods, because admin, instructional assistants, and our support staff, who are hourly, they are on 24 pays.
How would that affect taxes coming out?
Does not affect taxes. Does not affect taxes, because your W-9 is all at a threshold of what you set it to be. A percentage, extra dollars, and things
So the
like that.
fact that all those paychecks are coming on one day doesn't affect
Nope.
anything?
Where you're getting 5 separate, not one.
Deposit? I
Yeah.
mean,
You will get one deposit.
Yeah, so that they're taking more taxes out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. well,
Yeah.
Well,
I've been in
think,
districts where they've done it, and yes, you do.
Mhm.
So
We'll lose
two
money.
things. I don't think it's our tax advisory, but it's not gonna be taxed at a bonus rate, it's gonna be taxed
No.
at regular wages.
Taxed at regular wages.
But if you get a higher check, would you get more taxes taken out?
Yep.
It should be based on your, it should be
Based on your,
W-9, right?
based on your W-9, based on what you tell the WRS, or
Well, I think we should
Doesn't work
confirm
that
that.
way.
yeah, I
Let's
can
confirm that.
Mhm.
Again, to me, this is just like an accounting problem.
If it is going to do something to taxes, can it be 5 deposits or 4 deposits?
I'll take Pete.
In my old district, we did that, where we got 5 checks on the last day, 5 separate put into your account. It was all the same payment and same taxes were taken out, so let's just say your check was $2,000, they took out X, Y, and Z, whatever.
Mhm.
And it can be July, August.
Yes.
If it's gonna be lumped, you
Yeah,
get more.
I would rather not have a huge lump thrown in just for tax purposes and all that, and they're just gonna take more out, so then you have a separate, that way it feels like you got it.
I mean, I've never heard of paying people early, that seems so.
Well, it's not,
It's not
well, we're
early
not really
'cause it's
early,
their
because
contract.
technically they've completed their contract on, like, this year.
Sure,
we're
sure, I
doing
got
six.
it, but we are
State statute
currently
says
paying them
Some
we're paying
throughout
them
the summer.
throughout the summer if they choose to. So if they
So
choose.
currently, people can choose to get it
If
paid this way.
they, in 20 pay periods, correct, yep,
So what
so,
percentage of the staff is? doing
Yeah,
that?
I think one staff member, very small, very, very small.
So people come to our district and choose to do it the other way.
Well, the 20 pay period means they wouldn't get any compensation
Yep.
during the summer, and
Yep.
that's the way state statute reads. People can elect to take 24 pay periods, so it continues through the summer, correct?
Which is what most of our folks are doing.
That's what the majority of our folks are doing, vast majority.
So they come to districts paying it the other way. and choose to go
Um,
this way when they
no.
join us? Or what do we do during orientation when someone joins the district?
So we ask them whether they want to be paid in 20 pay periods. That means their paycheck, their contract would be divided by 20,
Mm-hmm.
or divided by 24.
Mm-hmm.
So 99% of our staff choose 24 pay periods, which means they would have summer income.
Yeah,
Yep.
which tells me that's what they want to do, right?
Mhm. Yep. So we would be giving them their summer income early. Yeah, that's the difference here. That's really the
Yeah,
difference.
totally understand. What I'm saying is when we give people a choice, they choose 24 pay periods,
Mhm.
right? Right,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what.
Yep. Mhm.
Okay. So it's not like we're mandating 24, we say, hey, 20 or 24, they pick 24. This would mandate 20.
This would mandate, well, this would ask them if they wanted 24, but the last 4 paychecks would come early.
I appreciate the way you're selling it to me, but it's the same, right?
No, the pay would be different.
Cause you would, yeah. 'cause
Your
you-
pay would be different.
Yeah.
Your pay is different. Over 20,
Sure, right, but you're getting all
No,
that.
but what he's saying is, instead of getting it
yeah,
July 6th, July 20,
Right,
August
still
6th,
20.
You'll get no
days.
summer income
You're
under
just-
this,
All
Right.
right.
under
Yes.
this
All
Yeah.
right.
proposal.
You would get your summer income upfront.
Correct.
Yep.
There'd be no, right.
Correct.
So what, okay.
When I first started here, we got paid once a month.
Mhm.
This was 28 years ago, mind you. It was very hard to budget for,
Mhm.
once a month. So I feel like this is something very similar to that. And you can say, well, that falls on you, you know, you need to budget better or whatever it
Sure.
happens to be, but getting that lump sum and thinking there's 3 months ahead of me,
Sure.
it's rough.
Yeah, no, I understand the concerns there for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
we've all gotten extra money at a time, did things that maybe we shouldn't have with that extra money, right?
Well, and it's just, to me, it just feels like an unnecessary added challenge, like, I'm gonna pick a bone with you, it's not a generational thing, Ron. Okay? Generational people, listen, people can, look, I'm fully capable of putting that whole deposit into my savings account and setting up automatic transfers in my checking account for the amount of money that needs to come out on the 6th and the 20th and keep things going. But to me, it feels unnecessary, because if we've been doing it this way for the entire time that I've been in this district, which is, I think, 15 years, I don't understand if it's just an accounting thing, like, how come it wasn't an issue before this? And also, like, it just feels like the benefit is to the business office, not necessarily to the employees.
Well, I don't think there's a benefit.
The convenience, I guess,
Yeah,
then.
and I'm gonna play both sides of the coin here, just so everyone knows how we're trying to solve a problem on one end of things with WRS.
With WRS
Right.
and.
As we do
Yep.
retirees, there's concerns there.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
I hear what you're saying as well, 100%, right?
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure some folks would like to get the lump sum, right? I'm sure some folks would not.
But they can
like
elect
to get
to
the-
do
right,
that.
would a solution be then if in the year you are retiring, you elect to have 20
pay
paychecks?
periods. Yeah, that would be.
You know what I mean?
That'll
Like-
be something that we communicate with our Newtons.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's solutions around this, and again, we could keep,
So my suggestion would be, right, stop offering it to new folks. If we want to make a change, stop offer it to new folks, and then over time, we get to where you want to get to, which is 20 pay periods. That would be a solution that I think would work. Because if we're not
See how
changing
that
any
would work.
current.
But
that
that's-
might be more of an accounting nightmare on our end, but that's fine, we can
But
take a
that's-
look, I'll take a
Ron,
look and see
That's
what
what
we
we're
do.
offering today. People get to choose that today, correct?
People can choose to get their money up front in 20 pay periods, correct? Yep.
So if we say, hey, this is where you want to go, ultimately,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
That's what you're saying, we want to get to this. For any new employees, we just don't offer it other than that option. And then over time, whether that's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you get to this solution.
I would be hesitant to not offer 24 pay periods to our new employees because of the budgeting aspect, because where they came from, I would say 90, again, I don't want to say, but well over 90% of the school districts offer the 24 pay periods.
So why would
So
I
I'm,
think
now I'm
Then-
totally confused.
yeah.
Well, because again, 24 pay periods, the difference in, all we're asking, the proposal and the concern is that we are paying people early those last four paychecks. So people have a steady income throughout the 12 months out of the year. The proposal is just to give them their last four paychecks ahead of time. That's it. So still be in 24 pays, but give them
You know, I got
the
you.
last four, so that they can budget, to Katie's point, that every, at the time of the month, you withdraw, so it's just like it would be if you were in January, February, November.
And my point is, I don't want to. I can,
And from a district standpoint, obviously, we'd be losing money, so we can, it is an accounting and a business thing, that's it.
I
Why are
would
you
need to
losing
know-
money?
Sorry,
Because we're
just
giving
interest.
out
Cash flow.
Well, cash flow, because again, we're earning 4%
Yeah.
on all of your money.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why, do you wanna earn 4% or do we wanna earn 4%?
Well, I get
Plus
having.
taxpayer money to the check is cut, right, ultimately, right, that's.
Correct.
That's how the district can earn interest on it.
That's how we earn it until it hits your payrolls, yeah, correct.
I'd like to know the tax implications and then, do 4 separate checks if this were to go forward.
Well, I was just gonna say that I understand definitely in like your retirement year, but if you choose to do the 24 paychecks, then you probably choose to kick it out 90 days after August, right?
I think it's something that our Newtons continue to
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah,
Yeah. And there's ways
Just
around,
get
it was a battle for us to get them
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
compensated.
Any other feedback around that one?
Isn't it January to December 31st for WRS though? Not like your school year? Not like the calendar, your school calendar where it's July to
That's your highest years.
your highest years, but technically your highest years are your 2 years average, right? So like 25 fall and your 26 spring, because that's when it takes, that's my contract, but like my WRS, isn't it January to December 31st?
Correct. Mhm.
So I guess like those are two different things.
2 different calendars.
Right.
Mhm. Your contract years are not with WRS lineup.
Right. So like technically with WRS, your least amount of years, if I retired this year, it would be, my least amount of money made with the school district would be spring of 26.
Again, I'm not an expert in WRS, but
Because you're not working for 6 months, technically, right? I think that's how it works.
Could we get physical paper checks at the beginning in January or June and cash them when we want throughout the summer? Then that would handle, for the people that don't mind, they could just put it all in. For people that know they have to budget, could deposit it when they want. Around that time, the 6th of the every month.
I guess it depends on what our payroll check expiration date is.
180 days.
180 days.
30-day window.
I mean, there's cost to paper checks. right?
Yeah, there's a cost to run them, time and stuff, yeah. I can do some research on the taxes and then see if we can
Yeah,
get the
come back
5
with that
paper. I'll
information.
come back with that information, yeah. Mhm.
And paper checks, if that's an option. Anybody else?
I had more if nobody else wants
Yeah.
to say anything.
Let
Okay.
Katie,
I just,
please.
like, here's the thing, like, for me, I'm speaking only for myself, so don't put anybody else on the Katie Glow big bus here, but like, right now, with the state of everything that is going on economically, things feel very uncertain. Something gets said one day, gets walked back another day, like in the grand scheme of the world here. And it's just like, there is a sense of security and comfort in knowing that like paychecks come every summer. And I understand that I'm getting my compensation, nothing's being withheld from me, I get it. But like, the regularity and like knowing that things are coming when they're coming is a big sense of security. And I did come from a district where we got, you got your last lump in June, you didn't get paid again until September, whatever day it was, and I got paid in September. And like, yes, it is possible. Do I like it? No. And if you're looking for a feedback from an employee about how I feel about it, ew, no, please, thank you, no. I would rather not. That's my feedback. Thank you, no.
I don't don't think anybody's here to say yay.
Okay, well, I want to make it really clear. From my standpoint, no thank you.
I would hop on the Katie Goldberg bus.
I'm also on Katie Goldberg. Well, that's your choice.
So why is,
Careful what you
why
do.
is it just the teachers then? Is everybody else hourly technically in the district? Like every single other employee that's here? Could you go, if you're gonna do it across the board?
Well, all the other employees are July 1 to June 30th.
So not an issue.
Not an issue, not an issue. No.
So you're still gonna be writing those paychecks during that time anyway?
Right, but from the budget standpoint, our auditors need to see that all expenses are paid by June 30th for that school year. Okay? So the teachers are the only ones who we don't compensate that would finish that fiscal year. So administrative contracts, instructional specialists, hourly,
So like
employees.
your new contract starts July 1?
July 1, yep. Which means my last paycheck, the administration, instructional specialists, and our support staff. The support staff we do write out because there's that July 6th paycheck, which means they were paid for June. They were paid for June. So that's why teachers are the only ones who can elect either 24 or 20 pays. That's why this is just a teacher contract.
And if you're like a summer school teacher, that won't matter?
Nothing happens, nope.
Because that's
Summer school,
different.
everything stays the same.
Yeah.
Well, I just know that it comes at a different time, that's nice.
Correct, but our June summer school hits this fiscal year. July hits the next fiscal year. So yeah, so then we have to do some accounting to get it into that too as well. But it wouldn't affect any other employee groups or summer school or anything else like that.
Okay.
Okay,
So we'll get more information and
Yep.
come back to it.
what else do people want to talk about other than summer pays? Sharon,
FMLA.
FMLA.
I don't know, I haven't talked to anybody in this room, but I've probably talked to at least 20 other people. Staff that have been here for 30 years, staff that are new, part-time staff, teaching staff, support staff. I have yet to find one person that understood the implications of when you mandated us to roll our accrued sick hours into FMLA, that would essentially wipe out anything except if something catastrophic happened. I don't think that was ever made clear to anybody. And if it was to me, that's why I question people. I'm like, did you know, did you know, did you know? I haven't met anybody that has known. Did anybody in here know? I'm just curious. So this year, I have over 200 accrued sick hours. And unfortunately this year, I had 5 sick days to use. I used one for the cold day, but the other one was used because I got COVID. I got double ear infections. I had the stomach flu. And I'm out of sick hours, and yet I'm still dealing with ear issues, and I cannot access any of my sick hours anymore. They're just sitting over there. So when I have an appointment, legitimate medical concern, I don't get to use them. So you took all of our accrued sick hours that were used for universal medical needs and restricted them, completely restricted them. Were people aware of that? Was it-
Yep.
So,
I didn't have enough to roll, so
can
I
so when we talk FMLA, we're talking the federally
Yep,
mandated?
exactly, yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. Explain to me what
So
this
we
Anton
mandated,
is.
last year with his proposed, or the district's proposed changes, it was mandated that all of our accrued sick hours get rolled into an FMLA.
Okay,
Yep.
Mhm.
So, but the rules of the FMLA that you chose, the continuous one, do not allow for you to take out anything, like you can have an intermittent FMLA, where you could take out to go to a doctor's appointment, and you could use that bucket for that, but that's not how it's set up here.
It is, yeah, if you have a chronic,
Chronic,
it's not for the one-offs, the ear infections,
but
the
an
stomach bugs and
intermittent, but an
things like that.
intermittent one would allow for that.
Intermittent FMLA is if there is a doctor's signature that says you will be treated intermittently for a criteria that fits FMLA, then you have access to that bucket. Mhm.
Misinformation all along, because my sister works for HR. They can take it out for a an appointment. She's worked for HR in her business, in the business world for over 30 years. She was a little put off when I said, this is what they did, and
Again, last year, we spent a lot of time working through a new PTO program, giving people options and paying out for the sick time when you meet certain criteria.
And as a part-time employee, I probably have to start working for you when I'm 20 years old, work for 40 years before the 80 rule would apply to a part-time support staff. So that never even, it's an unreasonable.
We'll see in a little bit.
But it is there, just in which we've had a lot of our part-time staff utilize our their FMLA bucket for serious health conditions that have occurred. Actually, this past year.
And even if it wasn't an FMLA, I could still use I could have used my.
You could have
hours,
before,
but I cannot
but
anymore.
now that we have a new program, we worked through that a year ago, that is our new current program.
It
Yeah.
seems like though,
It's punitive to those of us that,
Well, again, we work so many days and we give you so many days paid. I don't know, and I'm sorry that there were some, unseen circumstances, more one-offs this year for either you or other staff members. But the PTO that we give is, prorated at the part-timeness as a full-time employee, given the rate and the number of hours that you have. So whether you're full-time or part-time, it still is the same proration.
when in August, I had to pick, do I want to buy my regular 2 days of personal and.
Intense sick.
Right, I had that choice, and I went and talked to Sophie, our business director at the time, and I was leaning, she's like, Michelle, if you are employed here another 4 or 5 years, you age 5 years, you work 5 years, and the amount of time you've been here, and you can probably have access to this. So I opted for the 2 and 10. Nowhere did that say, oh, Michelle, you're part-time, you are never, ever gonna reach that, because when it was talked about, we were just talking about, because we have more full-time employees. So there was never anything made clear to me that a part-time person was accruing differently. Sophie certainly didn't mention it either. And then I feel like all these times when I've toughed it out or I've come in, and I've accrued hundreds of hours, like Sharon, I could utilize those sick days with the doctor's note or whatever, if I was sick for 2 days or whatever. Now you've taken my sick days that I've accrued and you've put it over here in the FMLA, and it's restricted now. So before, when I could utilize them anytime I needed them for just the simple flu, now if I'm out of sick time, I can't even access all those hard hours that I've accrued there. I understand a long time ago, people used to be, here's your sick time, and then, you're retiring, here's a check for that. I understand that more than likely I was never ever going to utilize most of that. But it was a little safety net in case, like Sharon, she was sicker than a dog this year. I mean, it was one thing after another. So I feel like we went from something where I had access to that, oh, Michelle, we're going to put it over here because it's a benefit you're never ever going to get, and it's limited in how you can access it. So I feel like something was taken away. I don't have access to those days anymore unless something, as your note said, either wonderful happened. I'm
Yes,
assuming
that.
right. Sorry.
So, but I also want to highlight though,
Can I
because
say
of
something
our,
real quick?
okay,
Sharon, how many years have you been with us? How many years?
17.
17 years. So on our chart, and I'm just reading.
yes. Mhm.
So I'm looking at this. So 11 plus years, they've given you 3 options. 2 personal, 10 sick, 3 personal, 8 sick. Okay. Roll sick personal into personal FMLA sick bank. What's
You
a
didn't
per-
have
No,
choice.
that's the wrong chart. You'll have to look at the support staff chart, the next slide down.
Okay, so there's 2 different.
Yeah, so support staff is different than
Okay.
teachers.
Same question. What is a personal FMLA sick bank?
A personal / FMLA sick bank, so any unused personal or sick time rolls into your FMLA bank.
Meaning you don't have access to it unless something catastrophic happens to you. I'm past the wonderful, sorry.
Yeah, me too.
You're past
Me three.
wonderful. A lot of us are past wonderful.
So any unused
There's no more wonderful in
PTO
my
goes
life.
into an FMLA bank to either be used for FMLA purposes or paid out.
and we'll
But
never reach a payout
is
as a
it-
part-time.
After that 60 days, so I have
Yep.
to give you 60 days, which is, let's say, $12,000 to $15,000. Then I don't get paid until that one day over those 60 days after I give you those.
Correct, 60 days,
So I
yeah.
have to give you $12,000 to be paid out one day into a 401(b).
What do you mean you're giving us $12,000?
So like, if I take my 60 days of sick time throughout my 10 years left, that equivalates to $12,000. So I'm putting this $12,000 into this bank and then don't get paid until that 61st day.
Well, yes, but I would say that we're compensating you, that, what is it, 120, or what is it, $200 a day?
If I hit 6+ years, it just says per diem, there is no.
Per diem, so ultimately, we are paying our support staff
So,
per diem.
okay,
The goal of the program is to get to 60 days, right?
Right.
Because that covers a full FMLA situation. Anything over 60 days, we begin to compensate you for. This past year, we paid out $21,000 in 403B payments for our staff.
For your full-time staff.
For our staff, full-time, part-time, whoever they may be. So, again, with the new PTO program, it was designed, again, it's different, and I'm gonna go back to what we talked about at the policy committee a year ago. Is it better than what we had before? Some will say yes, some will say no. So we put a program together that we felt met the needs of the district at the time, taking a look at everything. Again, there's always part-time, full-time, situations that are gonna come up. However, the program is designed to, again, hopefully cover you for a short-term disability policy, and then ultimately, any of those days over 60 are compensated. And then ultimately, with the rule of 80, again, that we've shared to your point that you said you'll never hit, but for those who do hit that, then there is another payout at the very end of your career here.
which I won't hit.
Depends on when you come in. I would never hit the rule of 80. I don't have that, but I would be one of those people who would never hit that rule of 80 more than likely.
Right.
As well, just because when I came into this, at this phase.
Pardon my ignorance and all this, but what is the rule of 80?
The rule of 80 is your age plus years of service.
Sure, where's that come from?
That was something that we took a look at for some common school district language, and we just settled into that rule of 80.
So if I still have, let's just say, 5 days of sick days left today
Mhm.
for this school year.
Yep.
And I've already had my stuff banked. So if I'm not sick the rest of the school year, what happened, in the past, that just rolled into, if I'm sick next year, I could use it. So those 5 days, what happens to those?
They go into your FMLA bank,
Which I have no access, so I just.
which you have access to if in fact something were to happen. Or
Right.
you need to have
So-
a doctor's note
Right.
that qualifies you for FMLA.
Right, and most of the time, you get the flu, you're out for 2 days or something like that, that's not gonna qualify for that. So it would have been better for me, not talking to Sophie and taking the 4 PTO days, so the school would pay me for 4 personal days, I could do whatever, still have my, then six sick days, or whatever it was.
Right, yeah, because you get
Because
10
for right
days.
now, I used my 2 that I had, and then the other days, since luckily I wasn't ill except for a day or 2 this year, then it just, so,
Well, it's up to you. Yeah, that's why the longer you're here, the more option you have to personal time too as well. So again, the system was set up to reward
Right.
loyalty and to reward longevity,
well, the loyalty.
which is what we heard.
Well, and it was never explained to part-timers, everything, and I understand the majority of people here are full-time. And we were never told that we weren't accruing it the same way. I mean, even the business office, when she was signing up, she's like, yeah, Michelle, you're gonna be able to get money at the end of your retirement if you're here X amount more years,
Mhm.
and that. That was obviously a false statement, because that's never gonna
I
happen.
don't know what Sophie said.
Well, that was, but she was repeating what we had heard in meetings, because there was nothing that differentiated part-time in the meetings we had.
No, we didn't differentiate part-time.
So, we didn't know.
My concern is that, like, let's just, every year, every teacher has the option to get 10, right? Or 12, or whatever you decide. I've got 3 little kids, they go to the dentist, they go to whatever, right? And I take that much time. Next year, I only get that time, right?
Yep.
If I get I accidentally hit myself in my van again, don't do that again. Then I go to FMLA.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
But let's just say that with my kids being out, all 3 of them, I have to take 10 days. On the 11th day that my kid's sick, I can't pull from anything, I go unpaid.
It is unpaid, correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Even though I would have technically all those other days built in.
So
Correct.
caveat to that,
Yeah.
right, if it's an FMLA qualified situation, right?
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm
the
saying, I understand
caveat.
that, but I'm just saying that like, I get
But
10
things
sick
happen.
days for
Life
the year,
happens.
right? My kid gets the flu for 2 days, right? That's not an FMLA.
Yeah.
Then the next week, my other daughter gets sick, right? Someone gets COVID, I have to stay home. Like luckily my wife and I flip off, but if we both don't have them, then we're gonna go unpaid, but I still have this bank that I can't use.
Correct.
So
That
like,
you
I
can
guess,
Or
use
not
when
to
you need it.
be.
yeah, but I can't,
But
It's
like,
not-
But not to also then be like,
But
just
you need to
take from you.
sometimes, right.
those of us who don't have a spouse
right,
to be able to take off. So like if my kids are sick, it's just me. And luckily this year, they've been great, you know, I hit my little thing, but like if I go through my 10 or whatever I choose on day 11, day whatever, then yeah, then it goes, but I have that bank sitting there that I can't touch.
Yeah.
When we know 2 kids, 3 kids, however many kids, like we've all been there, it runs through the house, like everyone gets nailed with it.
So prior to this change, there was a sick bank that you could roll over.
And you could use it anytime you wanted to. You got an unlimited
Except you needed the
Throughout the
doctor to
year.
note if it was extended, what, over 2 days or
after
something?
3
3
days.
days.
After
Which is
the
standard FMLA.
Standard FMLA, yep.
Okay.
the
But like
problem
if
was
the
we
stomach
had,
flu hits your family, you're gonna be out for, I mean, if you have 3 kids,
Yeah.
it goes through all of them, then you get it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that happened to my family a couple of years ago.
So as someone with lots of kids, right, that, I mean, so those can be FMLA qualified events, you just have to file it and get approved.
well, that was gonna be my question, what does it, what kind of
It's
stuff,
not-
you said,
it's
the only
not-
one I know
It's
of
up to your
FMLA
doctor.
is having a
What's that?
baby,
That's
what
your
else
doctor.
qualifies?
The
Knee
family
surgery.
portion, right, you could get,
Surgery.
you
If I
could
had-
qualify.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of people that take
Such
FMLA.
Rare
Mhm.
instances.
We have a lot of
would
people
Sure,
that take
no, I understand,
FMLA.
FMLA is always a third-party person making a decision on what's
Yeah.
qualified and what's not.
Correct.
Look, in the private sector, I deal with this very, very commonly,
Mhm.
right? You know, sick time is 5 days and you're out in a lot of cases. So if I'm hearing the concern is the bank that you've earned previously, we moved into a,
Very restrictive account that is no longer
an
accessible.
an emergency FMLA qualified only, that's where we're sticking.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Sticking them.
I-
That was a trade-off in order to give what, Ron?
To give for, to pay our staff for unused sick time.
is there a proposal we don't take 10? Like once, let's just say you hit 30. Once you hit 30, anything over your 30 or whatever it might be, then it goes into your bank? Because I know that like we had issues where people were abusing the sick policy, which I understand. And I think that that's not okay.
Majority weren't.
Right, but the majority of people were not abusing it. It was people.
None of us
But-
wanna be gone, it's a lot of
Right,
work
that's,
to be
it's way
gone.
more work to be gone, and being a person that sat in a hospital bed on a phone, creating lesson plans, it's not fun, being sick. I would rather come in on my deathbed, literally, than to create lesson plans. But I think that if we had a policy where it's not 10, you only have your allotted hours for that year, you had a bank, you had 10, you had 2 years, you had 20 hours, whatever it might be, it would allow for that gray area to
The
help.
one-offs.
Right, so that way,
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of employees that were really, really sick this year. We had,
Yeah.
you know, people that were hospitalized, they had kids that were really sick. And, I mean, whatever went through, I mean, they were off between 5 and 7 days as, for kid illnesses, because they do all the attendance. And it was really, really bad this year, so a lot of people ate through all of their sick time really quick.
And they didn't tap into their FMLA time.
Right.
So
A
in
lot
that,
of people
and
haven't accrued that, I mean, there's not a lot of people that have accrued that much, has there?
I don't know.
so I guess maybe I should grab, I mean, FMLA is job protection.
Job protection.
That's what
Correct.
FMLA is.
FMLA, job
Federal
protection.
program that protects your job in case you have a medical situation where you can't come to work, right?
And
You
it's
run out of,
gonna
you
be
run
on-
out of benefits.
Yep.
Pay is separate typically from
Correct.
FMLA.
Yep.
Pay is typically, right, how do I get paid while I'm on my short-term disability is in the private sector is how you buy insurance to cover you for short-term disability, right? I guess my biggest question is, this was proposed last year, met with a lot of positive,
Because I don't think it was explained thoroughly, would be my guess.
understood,
I didn't understand.
but met with a lot of positive, this was asked for.
This was
like
asked
that,
for.
right?
Asked for.
What I'm hearing around the table is maybe that's not the case, is it? So, two things, again, is it misunderstanding?
So for.
Is that what it was?
No, first of all, like, I hear what you guys are saying, and I do agree that I don't think there was a lot of differentiation between full-time and part-time explained. So I was only listening for myself, so I was only listening to the full-time situation, and, you know, I live in my own world and don't think about other people, so there you go. But, for me, what I took away from it was people wanted to have options for more than 2 personal days, so that they could have things, like if they needed to go, like, out of state for somebody's college graduation or whatever, like there was a little more flexibility with like how time was used, and so that's why there were the options of like you can have this many personal days, this many sick days, you know, like whatever. And then I didn't listen a lot to the FMLA because I'm done having babies, and that's the only thing that I was just in my own cloud bubble of things.
I don't think I understood it, yeah.
But like, if some of these things, like the stomach flu is going through the Globig House and, you know, whatever, could qualify for FMLA, and I just don't know the process, then I don't have a problem with it. I just need more education about how to utilize, how to access that time. And I don't think I'm in the same boat from what I'm hearing you guys say, and I do think part-time is a different situation. That's my reaction to this. I'm done now. Thank you.
Well, I do like that, like with our program now, like if I have to take my daughter to the dentist, for example, like I can take 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. I can take 2 hours to get a sub for me, whatever, and then we just have to get a note to the HR department or whatever. If you don't get that, then you get an email saying, hey, we saw you were out, can you please get a note?
But I think that that's fine.
Yeah, in which I did, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's fine, as
great
long
with
as you
that.
do it. Like, that's fine with our policy, but I'm just saying that I wish that we had some access to what we already accrued. See, I'm a PE teacher, I can't talk.
I'm special ed, don't look at me.
But that's what I'm saying, I just wish that we just had a little bit more, just in case, right? Like, and I know that like, if you are a brand new employee to the district, you only have those. But we're talking loyalty, that could be part
But
of it.
that's common, I mean, when you start a new career, a new place, it's very common, you don't.
Right.
No, yeah, I know,
Right, time's accrued, right?
you do
Correct.
whatever you
It's not-
can to come in,
Yeah.
right?
So Ron, you said earlier, this was done to help pay for paying out time,
The 2 things, one is more flexibility to our staff,
which is the personal days.
which is the personal or sick.
Which everyone
And
loves
the
those,
other,
right? Everyone loves that fact? That you get personal days, more personal,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
good.
you can pick and
Okay.
choose.
Yeah.
But the options,
So-
you only have, it depends on how many years you've been in the district though, or the
Right.
options.
Yep,
Correct.
yep,
Right.
yep, yep, which is again, very
Yep.
common, right? You're longer, we give you more options.
yep, give you more options.
Okay.
And then the longer you're here, then again, we pay out, you get payout.
So let's explain that to me.
When we say payout, on that
Yes,
far right
explain
side
that.
of the chart, as soon as you get over 60 days,
In your bank,
regardless, in
In
your
your bank.
FMLA bank,
Okay.
as soon as you get over 60 days, we then compensate you according to that chart.
Is that every year?
Every year.
$200 per day of sick time.
So
$200 or per diem. Yep,
is
for
it
support staff.
that, so let's say I hit 70 days, okay? I get paid only the 10 days, or,
Yep, you get paid the 10 days.
and then those 60 days just go,
Those 60 days are there for your short-term disability.
no, but let's say I'm going to fully retire, then all those 60 days get poof, or do you
Those-
get paid?
Nope, those 60 days, unless you meet the rule of 80,
Poof.
Poof.
are gone.
So
Correct.
that's where I came in with that $12,000 is what I'm leaving on the table by not taking my sick days.
Well, again,
So
it's,
then you're more saying, it's worth more to an employee like me that's probably never gonna hit anything on that side, because I'm gonna hit retirement age before I bank enough,
Correct.
right?
I guess I don't know. What you're saying is you should just start using your days.
Well, that's what I'm asking, I'm like, it would be monetary beneficial to me to take the days, because I'll never hit that. I don't have any family left,
Yeah.
I don't have, I have maybe 5 to 8 years working left.
Yeah.
So to not take one sick day in the next 6, 7 years is not likely, because you
Right.
work in a school and there's
Yep,
tons of
yep,
terms.
mhm, yep.
So for for somebody that comes in new, that's older, it's not a beneficial plan.
Well, it is, because ultimately, it's an insurance policy. Again, the question is who owns those days?
I'm sorry, guys, I have an
Yeah.
8:30,
Okay.
so I have to scoot.
Yeah, we're
Thank you
probably
all
short
for
Short on time here, I think,
sharing.
I'll make myself available.
Yep.
Ron, you wanna just let me know and I can come back and listen some more?
I'm happy to do the same.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
So from my, I'll just kind of give my perspective
Yeah.
before we run away. You will never find a plan that makes everybody right. What's important to me is two things. One, that everyone fully is clear and understands what they're doing, right? Because this was a trade-off in exchange for, so if we were to say, hey, no, let's just go back, right? I'd have a room full of people saying, no, let's not go back, right? What I'm hearing is there was maybe some confusion up front, right? So I think let's have a discussion around that, Ron, and make sure that we're very, very clear.
Justin's made a great thing, if you could at least make just 2 years in there, so you have that little bit of a wiggle room in there before you remove all the other hours, but there was nothing in there, it's like you use them and it was just a sick year for people.
Correct, and again, this comes from a point of, again, we know the impact of a teacher. After 10 days, it starts to impact learning. We work, again, I mean, this is what we talked about last year, is our staff knows exactly when they have to work. Our teaching staff works 191 days, they're on campus, probably, so they have 191 days of work. We're gonna give up to 12 paid time off days for those. And what we're trying to do, and what we've seen this year is we've seen a lot less doctor's appointments, we've seen a lot less illnesses, because we want people to schedule doctor's appointments around the days off. Truly.
I sure tried.
We try, and again, so this is where, and again, Sharon, again, a part-time employee gets the part-time allotment of PTO. Okay, in your case, 2 days a week, you work 2 days a week.
I know, I get that, but
So,
this year.
so we're trying to really maximize district resources, because we're not only paying you to be out, we're paying a substitute teacher 95% of the time to cover people too as well. So what we're trying to do is incentivize people, which we've seen at work, incentivize people to come to work so that they can bank and plan accordingly, so that we can, at the end, after 60 days, and I know, Michelle, the rest of the 60 isn't there, but we've seen that 60 days be so beneficial to people, part-time, full-time, so when something unforeseen happens, you have that policy. So instead of paying for a short-term disability policy, the district truly is paying your daily wages for 12 weeks once you get there, for 60 days, which is huge.
I understand what
Which
you're
is
saying.
right, that's, that short-term disability is not cheap.
Which we're different than,
Sure.
it's not cheap at all. In which, in the private sector world, there's some absorbing of jobs and things like that, but they're not paying somebody else to do the job.
I see where you're being nice and helpful and trying to set aside that as an insurance policy when you need it. Most people, thankfully, won't need it. So you just said it's being banked at 60 days for those who have been longtime employees and doing their job. Well, she's being penalized for that because she didn't have any, you know.
Who's being, Michelle or Sharon?
Well, okay, if I have my 60 days, I still can't get my head wrapped around it. So if I have my 60 days, they're put away. And this year, I have 5 days of, I'm just saying 5, maybe it's 4, of sick days left. Do I get paid out because my 60 days have already been?
If you have over 60 days, then you get paid
So
out.
I'm gonna get a check for 60?
Yeah.
No, not
No.
for six.
No, no.
Or
Five.
Or those 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So I will
Or
get-
into a 403B, whatever it is, because
Right.
we literally are paying out $21,000. And I don't see, because we have never paid out in
Right.
my time here.
Well, and you're paying out for people who are, they come in, they work through the stuff, just like that's why Sharon and I have accrued all that stuff.
Well, yes,
Because
but we're
we-
also, again, when we work through compensation,
Yeah.
what our district has tried to do, support staff, teaching staff, or whatever it is to make this your last stop, right? That's what we're really trying to do, is incentivize longevity, retention bonuses, to say, hey, we want you to come on back, we appreciate you.
Okay.
To Justin's point, every PTO system isn't gonna be perfect.
No.
But we are seeing, in last year, there was a lot of support around the table about, yep, this is what we wanna do. and I understand maybe some tweaks that we
Like-
may want to.
Then like Justin said, that's probably it, sorry, wrong Justin,
it's all right.
I.
Okay.
But, yeah, because then you won't have the gap, I guess I should say, or there'd be a little bit more
Right,
wiggle
but
room.
in every situation is different. I mean, Dick highlighted that she's the only parent. I mean, there also are a lot of times when we try to look at, you know, to say, hey, how can we make this happen? Because we've given you 12 days. How can we, you know, and that's really where if it's over 3, then it's FMLA.
Right.
And then how do we continue to access that? And that's triggered by me, by the way, so.
Yeah, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, as like,
I gotta go get the field trip.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
you know my
Thank you.
opinion is
Thank you for
different,
your
but, like,
feedback.
you know, like, I would probably come and talk to you and be like, I don't know what's going on, everyone in my house is dying, what do I do? And you would tell me, but like, I wouldn't know that unless I reached out to you, how to do that. How to, like,
Right.
see if it qualifies for my FMLA bank.
Right, because it's
Do you know what I'm
over,
saying?
on the 4th day, you have to have a doctor's.
But I'm saying that, like, that might be some information that's beneficial for everyone to know. Like, because, like I said, I only equate FMLA with having a baby. I don't know what other things qualify for FMLA. And that's on me,
Yeah.
So
but,
it's a-
Major things,
it's a-
cancer,
well, it's a
like you're
federal-
but
sick.
also.
Someone in
federally
your
pro-
family's sick, major, you're
But
taking
like,
care
what
of an
counts as
in-law.
major? Does it count when like 2 kids and my husband are cycling through the stomach flu and it's 2 weeks before?
Yeah.
Okay, but
Then
see,
you
like,
know-
I wouldn't know that because if you just say having a baby having cancer, I'd go, well, stomach flu's not that. I wouldn't even know to ask.
Who makes the determination?
Oh, well, I follow the federal laws, that would be me.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so
But
we make
you
a,
would-
we make a local determination of what qualifies.
We make there's a determination qualifier.
Yep, correct.
For a
correct.
number of hours.
Yep,
And then on the 4th day, it is triggered,
yep,
because it is a protection of your job.
Yeah, I
Yep.
understand that.
So if in the Globeg house,
Yeah,
you guys are out for a week, okay?
just die.
On that 3rd day, Ron reaches out and says, hey, I need you to get a doctor's note.
Okay,
So then, as soon as you get which you'll produce,
Right.
everybody produces it, then that is an FMLA circumstance, so all of those 3 prior days, plus, say you're out for a week,
yeah,
all of those 5 days now have access to
come out of my bank.
come out of your FMLA, well, they would come out of your sick bank first, and then, but you would get, say you have another 5 days,
Mhm.
so then ultimately you would have 5 days of access
But then
to
the rest
that.
of the school year, if it was just a one-off day, I would have
You would-
nothing.
you would have
Because
it.
you'd use up all my sick time first.
No, you would
So
take
your
5
first-
days.
Your first,
Oh,
couple
3
would-
days?
There's the ones that we take out, but say you
Okay.
were gone for 5 days, that means you have access to 5 days of that sick bank, of the FMLA bank.
That's what I think isn't clear to a lot of full-time and
Well,
teaching staff.
Well, first of all, I apologize, because I know, yet on Wednesday
Yeah.
I was there, I was gonna explain all this.
Yes,
and,
and that's beyond your control, I understand.
Yep.
But,
But,
I think the
Clear-
concern I heard is different than the concern you're speaking of.
yep, I think so too, and I think it's a different situation for part-time and,
Well, part-time, there's no difference,
well,
other than the 80-hour rule, or the rule of 80.
rule,
Everything else
that's it,
is-
everything else is the same.
The concern is they prior to these changes, they would've gotten paid out their 60 days when they retired.
No,
No,
no.
no.
There
Prior
was
to
no
this change,
payout.
There was no payout at
There was
all.
no
There-
No one was getting paid at all.
their concern from what I gathered, and maybe I misunderstood, very possible, is previous to last year, or this year, however we wanna say that it was implemented, was I've been here, Sharon's been here 17 years, she takes her couple days, she's got a bank of, let's say, 60 hours. And this year's rough year, flu year,
Yeah.
whatever her stuff, she could then just continuously
Yeah.
pull from.
Regardless of the.
Regardless
Yeah,
of the situation.
regardless of the ear infection, of the flu, versus now it's, we have to have,
whatever you don't use by the end of the year gets rolled into your bank, whereas before you could accrue up to
She
a
wants
certain-
access to that
Correct,
FMLA
correct,
bank at
correct.
any time.
Right.
You could
So she
acquire a
wants-
certain
right.
number of sick
Doesn't want to be
hours.
FML qualified to be.
She wants to be able to access it whenever.
Okay. I
They
think
want.
I have some
Our
ideas around the
sick-
solution there, so.
sick bank. sort of.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You know, like my knee surgery,
Yep.
not knee surgery, whatever.
yes,
My surgery this year was,
yeah,
I pulled what I had, my current bank, and then, because I've only been here 2 years, I was able to then pull my FMLA, because that had rolled over.
At an
because I feel like
FMLA.
it used to be
At
like I could
FMLA.
acquire up to a certain number of days,
You could acquire up to 60 and this would sit there.
yeah, and it just sat
And then
there.
it sat there and nobody paid anything and you didn't get anything over 60.
Right, so now you
anything
get
over
rewarded
60.
for over 60.
Correct.
Correct.
And
But
at the two-
I could access those 60 whenever I wanted.
You could have accessed those 60.
Within, like, I could have had with the right documentation, more than 10 sick days technically,
Yeah.
if I had that many days.
Well, like in Sharon's case, what she's asking for is just being able to tap into that time, the old way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's where,
I've been working for 20 years, I've used maybe 2 sick days, and I don't have a single bank anywhere, right, available, short-term disability insurance that I pay for,
Mhm.
right, or sometimes the company will pay for it.
Yeah, and Ron, I told you there's some questions last week Wednesday
Yep,
on
yep,
short-term,
correct.
disability.
Which we don't offer.
we
anytime.
offered it last year and we didn't have enough people take it. So,
Yeah.
because we needed a minimum of 5 or 10, whatever it was,
Yeah.
and we got a very small.
That's my general thought, is if they want something different, we'll offer, let's offer short-term policy, and we can look at changing, because you don't want employees to not have something there in case of an emergency situation, you do not want that for your staff.
No.
People,
Right,
Right.
like
The Social
to
Security
me,
idea, you
these
want
60
something-
days are very valuable.
Correct.
Right, like, for me, this is, if your income is important to your household, the 60 days matter to me, because if I get sick, if I have to take care of an ailing mother,
Correct.
which is what it is, like, all of those things, because it's not just you, it's other people, direct people in your family, it's very impactful to me to not have to worry about how I can deal with a situation over here, on top of trying to figure out what to do for my income that my family's relying on. So I think too, it's like the trade-off, I think, is really something people have to understand, like you
Yeah.
have to pull, but you know, it's also there. And to Justin's point, yep, I would be one of the people that, you can ask Ron, I would take short-term disability. That's how much, I mean, my husband works for Jesus, there's nothing, like, it relies on that, so I am very protective of my own thing. And that's, everyone has their own thing, and I think that's what you were saying, like,
yeah.
everyone wants something different, and 1 year maybe makes you think, I wish I would have had that, but I'm also looking long-term, I'm looking for myself for the next, 7 to 10 years. Like, a lot of things do fall under FMLA, actually, that can affect people's life, and in the private sector, where a lot of my other family works, like, they would just be out of luck, like,
Yeah, so I have short-term disability, long-term disability, and supplemental.
yeah.
That's how I,
Which we
For
offer.
the same
every-
reason,
which we
you're
offer
worrying about, like,
situations.
what would it look like if I can't?
Correct.
So I think when we decided to pay people out, I mean, I remember the conversations last year. I mean, a lot of our people that didn't use sick time this year, that's a nice cash bonus for them, and they're still sticking with money if something happens in their
Yeah.
family situation.
Sorry, I had to get
thank you
Well,
very
thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
But those were options that,
Okay.
you know,
That
and
we-
maybe we just need another option. I don't know.
And it's,
Well, at some point too, there's.
I don't have enough
costs.
to roll anything.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, I
I don't even know.
I got
I'm
nothing.
pretty sure.
Thank you for coming this
thank you
morning.
for coming, thank you, I appreciate that.
But hey, but
concludes
Did
our
you have
meeting.
anything? I had a reference check coming.